Thank you, Dale. I call to order the Town Council regular session. The time is 7:40, and the date is Monday, September 9th. If we could please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Could we please have the roll call, Dale?
Council President Whaley.
Present.
Council Vice President McAtee. Here. Councilman Donnelly.
Present.
Councilwoman Healy.
Here.
Councilman O'Neill.
Here.
All members present.
Thank you, Dale. We have the approval of the minutes of previous meetings. We have the work session of August 13th, 2013.
I move approval of those minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We also have the regular session of August 13th,
I move-
2013.
I move approval of those minutes.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Would any council like anything removed from the consent agenda?
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Which brings us to licenses. We have a resolution granting a victualling license to Quick Ricks, 58 High Street, Wakefield, Rhode Island. Application by Richard McCullough, Quick Ricks Limited Partnership, 35 Nooseneck Hill Road, Wyoming, Rhode Island, and this is a new license. And do we have Richard present? Richard, please come to the microphone. And if you could tell us a little bit about Quick Ricks. Are you purchasing it from Jess?
Yes, I am.
Well, congratulations.
Quick Ricks has been around a long time. I go back to about 25 years ago, being friends with the original Rick that had Quick Ricks, and it's going to be reinstituted as to what it was when he had it. He will actually be flying up and doing a grand opening with me once we get organized.
Wow.
Wonderful. And do you want to tell us a little bit about, is the menu going to stay the same, your hours of operation, all that good stuff?
The hours are going to be extended at some point later till probably 8 o'clock in the evening, and hopefully through Sunday at some point, but not for a couple of months. The menu is going to get healthier, be more diverse. I'll leave it at that point.
Great. Do we have questions here at the town council table?
Breakfast going to be part of the
Absolutely.
total? Okay. So really breakfast, lunch, but maybe some deli work evening?
Take out for early evening.
Very good.
Other questions here at the table for Richard?
It's good to see Quick Ricks continue. I've been going there for years.
Certainly is.
I've also met with Larry Fish about the possibility of making the site bigger. And at some point, we'll be in front of planning and zoning to review that option.
Good. That'd be interesting.
It will.
Very good.
Yeah, 8 people sitting is just not enough.
Is that how many? I thought it was less than that.
We squash them in.
Yeah.
And do you know if Jess is going to be moving back to New York, or you don't know?
No, she's going to stay.
Good.
She's got a lot on her mind.
Quite the young lady.
Yeah, she's going to stay as a consultant for a few months.
Very good.
All right, other questions for Richard?
I move approval of new license A.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much. I'll invite you all for dinner.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is our public hearing. I'd like to open the public hearing relative to proposed amendments to the town code as follows. It's Chapter 12, Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions. This is Section 12-11, Public Consumption Prohibited, Possession by Persons under 21 years of age prohibited. It shall be lawful for any person to consume alcoholic beverages of any kind on a public way or street, beach, public picnic ground, park, amusement area, or any other public place or building unless permitted by law within the town. It shall be unlawful for any person who has not attained the age of 21 years of age to have in possession alcoholic beverages of any kind within a building, park on a public way or street, park, amusement area, or any other public place or building within the town. And the proposal is to add this section, which states, the possession of an open container of alcohol by any person will be considered prima facie. Did I say it right, Carol? That the alcohol is being consumed in violation of this ordinance. The penalty for any violation is a fine of $50. So at this time, we're going to turn it over to Steve? Or Mike? Okay, Mike.
At the last council meeting, there were some questions raised about the language, the proposed language, about the prima facie evidence. And as a result, I did a little bit of research, and I also spoke with Chief Vespier and suggested that instead of using that language, I'm going to suggest that you substitute for this language that the possession of an open container of alcohol by any person is prohibited on a public way or street, beach, public picnic ground, park, amusement area, or any other public place or building. Basically, this is a prohibition of open containers on public property. I did discuss that with Chief Vespier. He is fine with this substitute language. I know Captain Jaber is here this evening also. He may want to address it, but I believe from my perspective, from the solicitor's office, this language would be quite appropriate. And as I say, the chief was also fine with it.
Wow.
I am Captain Jaber from the police department. Chief Vespier is away, so I'm here representing him. And we do agree with, the police department does agree with that additional wording, open container in public. It makes it easier for the police to enforce the law. It's very difficult if you respond to a large party or at the beach area and you have several people standing around with alcohol containers in their hand, but if the police officer doesn't witness that person actually drink that alcohol, then they can stand there all night. So this puts some teeth into that particular ordinance. And I'm not here to say that these officers are going to go to different places and look for somebody with an open container and make the arrest. 9 times out of 10, the officer will ask that person to get rid of the alcohol, and they're on their way. This particular amendment to the ordinance is just for those few who refuse to listen and don't leave the area and continue to disrupt the street, any public place. So we think that adding those words as the town solicitor has suggested, I think that that puts us in line with other particular police departments like Newport, Providence, Warwick. They all have the same wording in their particular ordinance. And also the fact that this is a $50 fine as opposed to the fine that's attached to that ordinance, that the fine that has been attached to that ordinance in the past, that $50 fine actually lessens, brings it down to a violation, not a petty misdemeanor, and the summons can be given on the spot, and it can be however the town chooses to take that payment. That person can pay it by mail or pay it at the town hall or pay it at the police station, as opposed to having to appear in 4th District Court.
Okay, Carol?
Joe, were you actually challenged on the way the ordinance was written before that, so police officers actually felt like if they saw someone with an open container, they couldn't issue a citation or a violation?
Yeah, they felt that they had to actually, because of the wording of the old ordinance, they had to actually witness the person consuming the alcohol.
But there was no legal challenge, or was
No,
there?
no, there hasn't been.
This just like closes a loophole.
Yes, and like I say, it brings us in line with other departments who have these particular problems. And as I said, it's not going to be used to show up at parties where people are, orderly and doing what they're supposed to do. It's for those few who don't know enough to move out of the street, have been asked to leave, or have been asked to get rid of the alcohol, and they choose not to.
So if somebody's having a house party and they step onto the sidewalk, the cop's not going to
Well,
be standing there waiting, right?
It's your house, Carol, baby. No, we won't.
Now?
No, that's correct. No, we wouldn't be looking to do that.
Yeah.
I think they would all use discretion in
Right.
those cases.
Meg?
I have a clarification. I am in complete agreement with this. There's no question about that. I'm looking at the first sentence versus the second sentence. In the first sentence, it says, "It shall be unlawful for any person to consume alcoholic beverages of any kind on a public way or street or beach or public picnic ground, park, amusement, or any other place or building unless permitted by law within the town." And then you go on to the second sentence, and it says, "It shall therefore be unlawful for any person who has not attained the age of 21 years to have in his possession alcoholic beverages of any kind." What's the distinction of any person versus any person 21?
There's a difference if they're
Not
if they're.
attained.
Yeah,
Has not attained the age of 21. I think there's a state law that prohibits
Yes.
that even further, so
Okay.
I'm not sure why we even put this in, because,
It's, I believe it's been there for years. The state law is 3810,
yeah,
I believe, and that provides for a larger fine, but it's still a
All right,
violation.
I mean, I'm not in disagreement, I'm in agreement, but the first sentence appears to cover it, and then the second sentence kind of says something else about 21, or attaining 21.
I think,
so-
Meg, the difference is in one case it's consumption, in the other case it's possession. So if you're not 21, you
Okay,
can't even
that-
possess.
And that's all the
Yeah, it's-
clarification I wanted.
that's
because-
basically what the.
Okay, so it's all well and good.
Yep, the state law, I think, is $350 fine or the ride program, and
Yeah,
you know all about
yeah,
that,
if it's in a vehicle, it's also a 2-month license suspension.
right?
And if it's just simple possession outside the vehicle, it's a fine up to, I believe, $750 or something like that.
Wow.
Pretty steep fine.
So that almost preempts this in many ways, although this is for a kid who's just walking down the street. Or-
Yes, there are a few
At a party.
differences, but this is better. I think this is probably a better statute for those particular areas, a better ordinance for those particular
Yeah,
areas.
I agree.
It gives you leeway. It really does give you leeway that you probably didn't have in the past, so that's,
Yes, and there won't be a lot of these, but like I say, you'll probably see more with some amendment.
Any other questions here at the town council table? Jim?
Yeah, Captain, what's the genesis of this? Has it been a problem at the town beach, Old Mountain Field? What,
There's been a problem over the years, in particular, the last few months, this summer, with officers seeing people milling around after places close, or sometimes the 4th of July, the large crowds, where people have been asked to leave, and they're standing there, they have alcohol in their hands, and the officers don't get very good cooperation from them, so they still, there's nothing they can do by, these people can stand there with the open containers in their hands, there's nothing they can do, just ask them to leave. Where if they had someone with an open container, under this new ordinance, they're allowed to issue the violation and might help to quell the crowd.
okay, but a lot of this, it sounds like the 4th of July fireworks, Old Mountain Field is.
Not in particular. That I mentioned that because of the large crowds, the beach areas, the places like the pubs in Matunic, in Wakefield, numerous places, house parties, URI students.
Well, I appreciate hearing from you that if the folks being looked at by an officer can obey and be orderly, that'll be the end of it. So
That's
I
normal.
appreciate that part of it, because I'd hate to have real harassment take place, and
No, I don't think it'll be used in that way at all. Like I say, 9 times out of 10, and I've been there myself, you dump it out and move on.
yeah, okay, great, thank you. Yep.
Other questions from town councilors? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. I'm going to open the microphone for anyone who would like to comment in this public hearing. Please come forward and state your name. Seeing none, can we have a motion to close the
I
public
move we
hearing?
close the public hearing.
Second?
Motion to close the public hearing, all in favor?
Aye.
Any further discussion? Motion carries, and
I
we have
make
a
a
motion?
motion to amend the agenda to reflect the language that was drafted by Mr. Asillo, and that language would be, instead of adding the underlying language that's on the agenda, we would add the possession of an open container of alcohol by any person is prohibited on a public way or street, beach, public picnic ground, park, amusement area, or any other public place or building. The penalty for any violation is a fine of $50. I move that
Second.
we amend it,
Okay.
amend the language to accept Mike Rosillo's,
Right, so you're basically approving public hearing item A as amended, as you just read.
as amended.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion before we vote? Ready to vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Thank you. Brings us to communication B. This is a communication dated August 20th from Elizabeth Liz Morris, submitting her resignation from the school committee as received, placed on file, and the town council further directs. I have a
Well-
motion to,
I make a motion that we place this on file. Liz has done many years of service on the school committee, which we greatly appreciate, and sorry to see her leave. But her career and her family take her in other directions.
Certainly second that with a thank you for her service.
Very
yes.
good, Jim.
Okay, so we have motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ready to vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next communication item is a communication dated August 22nd, 2013, from Robert A. Traeger, and dated August 29th, 2013, from Roland Benjamin, seeking consideration for appointment to the school committee to fill the vacancy created by Elizabeth Morris's resignation. Are received, placed on file, and the town council further directs. Did I not say Robert Traeger?
No.
So you want to make a motion? Well, he has a communication here.
Oh, we're right, but you just skipped over that part of it, so I just,
I didn't read Robert Traeger?
No.
Oh, I didn't.
please, tell me my hearing's still,
That's what I heard, but I don't know.
I thought I heard it.
Yeah, no, you did, you did.
It's the acoustics in the room.
You,
no,
Jim.
she did.
We're all getting old.
All right, so we have two letters here. One is from Robert A. Traeger, and the other is from Roland Benjamin, seeking consideration for appointment to the school committee to fill Liz's vacancy. All right, so can we have a motion, please?
Do we want to place these on file, or do you want, and allow them to come up at the discussion?
I think that's
All right.
probably wise. We'll
All
place
right,
them on
we'll
file.
place
and
these
then-
letters on file until we have the appointment discussion. That's my motion.
Yep, and I'll second that. My apologies to Ella for bad
Oh,
hearing.
no apology.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Here, which brings us to Communication F. This is a communication dated September 3rd from State Representative Teresa Tienzi on behalf of the Healthy Places by Design Walking and Biking Group concerning issues related to the Comfort Station, High Street, and the South County Commons Connector Path is received, placed on file, and the Town Council further directs. And at this time, I'm going to ask Representative Tienzi if she would like to come forward. Steve, did you want to start with anything?
No,
Okay,
I'll react.
okay.
Good evening, thank you. I have with me some of the other members of the Healthy Places by Design group, the biking and walking subgroup, first of all. We, just as a general public service announcement, we do have a Healthy Places by Design all-group meeting coming up on Thursday, this Thursday at 5:30 p.m. at the Guild. And I just want to encourage you all to attend. It's been a very active group, and we've been incredibly grateful to the town for applying for the grant, and to the state for allowing us to be one of only 3 communities to be the beneficiaries of this process. And I have to pat ourselves on the back a little bit here by saying we are the only town who has remained as active as we have. So I think it really speaks to the commitment of the people in the town to making it a better place to live. I did create some packets for you all so that you could kind of follow along the process that we're about to take you through. So I'll provide them to the clerk for you. So inside each packet, there's, I think, 3 different things. And the first one was just one single page from a thicker report that statewide planning had recently released, and it was looking at the growth of our communities and of the state. And this report came out with one finding that I think all of the major news sources covered, and that was that in 30 years, so by the year 2040, the state expects to have a 75% increase in the number of seniors, of residents over the age of 65. So fully 1/4 of all residents within the state will be over 65. And you may say to yourself, what does this have to do with Healthy Places by Design and you know, what we planned on hearing about tonight? But I think that this is a great framework for what part of our goal as a group is, and that's to create a safe environment for people of all ages. So we're going to see this tremendous growth over the next 30 years, and South Kingstown is known for its planning and for advancing, being well ahead of other communities. And I think that what we're about to present to you tonight is a great opportunity to continue that forward thinking. The next thing that I have in the packet is a road safety assessment. A great document as well. This was presented in early 2013, and it was done, and Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a project, a consulting group was hired on behalf of the town and the Department of Transportation to look at Main Street in Wakefield and to make recommendations on safety improvements. And that dovetails very nicely with what Healthy Places by Design does. We're looking to build or to improve the built environment within a town to make it healthier and safer for our residents to get around. So I copied a few pages within this, and I'll just breeze through kind of what I highlighted. The first page, we've got traffic volume data on Main Street, and this was done as part of the study. They looked at the number of people, pedestrians and bicyclists, who crossed different places on Main Street, and we're highlighting things on the bike path at first. The first thing we wanted to talk to you about was the improvements that are done, being put out to bid, improvements that are about to be done at the crossing of Main Street of the O'Neill bike path. We're building a comfort station, and what we as a group want to do is to help you, is to make this a safer crossing. So one of the recommendations that came out of this consultant group was to make it safer for people to cross by creating something that's called a bump out. So right now, the road consists of a lane of traffic going in each direction and then parking areas on both sides. So, we're looking at, say, 40 feet to cross. If we were to create things that are called bump outs, that would cut the distance in half. So now we're looking at an aging population moving into the state, and we want to, make it safer for people to be able to cross. And this is a great opportunity to do this, since we are opening up this area for a major reconstruction phase when we do the comfort station. So on the next page, we just have the number of accidents. You'll see that there were 183 accidents on Main Street alone in this 3-year period. You flip the page and you'll see that it was mostly dry conditions during daylight. So these are, not because of snow, not because of poor visibility because of the night. This is, when we have the majority of pedestrians and students out and about. And then the next page, we have under study findings that the RIDOT, Department of Transportation, has plans to improve the bike path crosswalk and provide a comfort station nearby. So that's one of the positives that come out of it. But they say in the next paragraph that a major issue that drew a consensus from the team members was the need for improved visibility of the available crosswalks and the pedestrians trying to use them. So that's where the bump out comes in. And as you continue to flip through these pages, the next one is a summary of safety issues number 5. It talks about removing parking that's too close to the crosswalk, as well as putting these bump outs in. So, as you continue to flip through, you'll see time and again, the mention of bump outs improving safety. And they're mentioned as long-term improvements because they can be a major construction phase, but when tied into an existing project, it provides two benefits. Number one, we don't have to disrupt the flow of traffic. If we add the bump out to this particular project of the construction of the comfort station, and the cost. So as a standalone project, it would have one cost, but while the crews are there, to add this particular piece on, it would actually save money, have a lower cost when it's tied into this project. And on page 15, it says some of the main overall proposed items, bump outs at crosswalks, and it says providing bump outs at crosswalks will have the greatest benefit. And then it goes on to say, however, requiring construction. We know how long it is before DOT will be coming down Main Street again, and we see this as an opportunity to provide a kind of a pilot program by putting this bump out in there now. And, as you flip along, you'll just continue to see different recommendations, such as defining the ends of downtown area to allow people to understand that they're about to come into a very busy, pedestrian-heavy, lots of traffic, shopping going on. So a way of defining the downtown to a driver who has lots of distractions going on with the different, signage and things like that, is the physical bump out actually tells their brain that something is different about this area, and it's a way of preparing them for the number of pedestrians that they're about to encounter. So just another great way. The last thing that we have in your packet there is a letter from Chief Vespia acknowledging the receipt, that he did receive this report, and just outlining the importance of adopting these recommendations. And number 11 on his list, which was the last one there, it says as a long-term improvement recommendation to consider installing these bump outs. And again, I just want to reiterate that as a standalone project, it would cost more time and money to the town or to DOT, and that attaching it to this current project is probably a smart way to go. So the comfort station, that was the first thing that we wanted to talk to you about. Any questions on that?
Yes, I do. Carol? Teresa, what is a bump out exactly? What are we talking about? I mean, you just went on for the whole, 15 minutes on bump outs, but what does it look like? Is it out in the middle? Are we talking about going out into the road?
It's a raised curb. It essentially creates, it cuts the amount of area that one has to cross the road in half by extending the curb line out. So it's literally two circles, half circles that go out into the road. So there should be no parking on either side of a crosswalk.
So this would limit the flow of traffic. I mean, you're talking about taking street, we have to get fire trucks by, we have to do all of these things. But let me just go on. I mean,
Well, I want to be clear
the
that
bump
it's
out that
not
you're talking
limiting.
about on Main Street where the bike path is, there's already a traffic light there, is there not?
Yes.
Yes. So that's number one where you want to put it, right? Is that where you want it?
Precisely. Yeah, and just to be clear, it does not limit the travel area at all. It delineates the area where pedestrians are supposed to have the primary access for that area. So we're not taking away any road space.
I don't think there's a parking space right there anyway. I don't think you can park at that, right at the bike path.
You're not supposed to, but when the project was completed, the restriping was not done by RIDOT to reflect the fact that those parking spaces are not supposed to be there. They're there, and people do currently use them. So I don't think anyone is ever ticketed there because they are inappropriately lined. But time and again through this road safety assessment paper, there's recommendations to kind of clarify and remove those parking spaces that are remnants of past projects that don't legally exist.
Yeah, there shouldn't be parking there anyway. I mean, with the bikes going back and forth and all the pedestrians, that clearly makes sense, and I'm sure there isn't any legal parking over there. But I thought we were changing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, when we do the intermodal station, were we going to do anything with that crosswalk? Weren't we changing it somehow?
Yeah, the crosswalk is going to become an epoxy crosswalk with that of the stamp, similar to what's on Main Street, so that they will all be uniform. I do want to also say with a bump out, a bump house creates problems in an area where there's only going to be one at this time. And secondly, it's a drainage problem because then the water is funneled out into the drive surface on that hill. So it's going to take drainage improvements as well as a bump out installation. The other thing that the bump out does is it does interfere with winter maintenance as far as snow plowing is concerned, and being able to delineate with that, where that is if there's a snow cover. This recommendation, the town had worked with DOT to be able to study Main Street and to look at how could we improve safety aspects for the Main Street area, and to look at the traffic controls that are in place, things that could be done. One of the far-reaching recommendations, future recommendations, was to consider the bump outs. Bump outs are something that needs to be looked at with the business community itself and how it's going to impact them. One of the main concerns we've had with businesses over the last 30 years has been the concern over parking or the loss of parking. And, we changed from having parking cells to parking rows so that we're not delineating where cars have to park between, 12-foot areas, or 18-foot areas. The idea of the bump out is something that can be evaluated. It's not something that can be done at this point, in our opinion, effectively with the intermodal facility construction. We've got a traffic signal that's located there. We've got an upgraded crosswalk that's going to be installed there. We believe that those are the improvements that need to be made. If we start looking at amendments to contracts that are before state purchasing, I'm concerned that it jeopardizes that contract or the length of time that it takes. One of the key things here is we want to get that construction so that we can stay away from either the Christmas seasons and the summer seasons. Any delays is going to create difficulties with that project. So our staff recommendation has been to go forward with that, to continue to look at Main Street. If there's going to be a rebuild on Main Street, then we need to look at what the drainage infrastructure requirements are for those type of bump outs, what the real estate reductions are going to be as far as the space is concerned. We're not prepared to endorse a single bump out at this time as a component of the intermodal facility.
Question, does on that light there at the bike path, is there a walk button? Can you?
Yeah, there's a pedestrian control signal that's there.
And then they have the ability to stop traffic.
I mean, the difficulty that we have at that, with that traffic signal is wherever you see a pedestrian button is people are impatient. They push the button. If they don't get a red immediately, then they're going to walk across the street with the green still showing. If we got people that would use the pedestrian button properly, we wouldn't have that difficulty. What we're talking about with a bump out is really consuming what is now the gutter lane, which would be for parking. And obviously, there's not parking directly in front of where that bump out would be, but we're concerned with what the drainage potential issues would be on whether or not the water coming down the hill on that bump out would in fact end up in the drive lane. And that's something DOT would have to look at so that they could abate any problems they were going to have on drive surface.
Steve has brought up a number of issues, and if I may, I just want to talk about a few of them. I mean, no fewer than 30 times are bump outs recommended in this road safety assessment. I went through and highlighted them all for you, as well as the letter from Chief Vespia. So this is an approved, I mean, they exist in Providence. They exist on Hope Street there very successfully. They exist in Mystic, Connecticut as well, on a patch of area that is very similar in size to our downtown area. They're very successful in those areas. I do understand the drainage, but I have spoken to DOT on 2 occasions where I've been told that it's not too late. to have these things considered. So I just, I bring these up because it has been recommended. And to me, I see this as an opportunity. We don't know when DOT's coming to town. How many years did we wait for them to come to High Street? And so you'll see High Street is another thing that we wanted to talk about on our list tonight. But, it's not often that they come to town. It could be 30, 40 years before they come back. And just like we're using the Sharrows as a temporary pilot program as a result of DOT coming to town, footing the bill, and allowing us to see how Sharrows are going to work in our area. And I'm sorry, many of you may not know what Sharrows are, but it's another bicycle safety enhancement. And I see, and the group, alongside me sees this as an opportunity to use this as a pilot program where we're not footing the bill for it. It's something that's a state project. It comes recommended very clearly in this, most recent, this is a road assessment that was done just months ago. And I see this as a true opportunity to be penny wise as opposed to pound foolish. In making these types of improvements that will really change the feel and the safety for all of our residents now. I guess, I don't know if anyone has any other questions on it.
The only question that I have, is there a cost analysis? Steve, do you know how much this was going to
The
be an
probable
extra cost?
construction cost for it?
Or with the bump outs is,
No, because none of that research was done. Let
It
me
has
make
been
clear,
done.
We're not opposed from a staff perspective to studying any type of improvements that can be made, but they need to be made in an orderly fashion as part of an overall rebuild on that road, rather than to single out this one location. That's where the concern is. All of the problems can be dealt with, but at this point, what we were attempting to do is to put, when you go back with the restroom facility, we've been dealing with this now for probably 8 or 10 years. The town's been very fortunate. We were able to get the state to buy the land. We were able to get the state to remediate the land. We were able to get the state to put in the parking lot, pave it. We were also able to get the state to develop the plans, the final plans for the building. I think we need to get that building done, because the biggest complaint I get from the business community is the need for the restrooms. And I think that when we got the bike path in, we were able to get the traffic signal there. We've got the pedestrian control light. We don't think that the bump out necessarily is warranted at this point. It may be in the future, but it's not warranted at this point. And that was the posture that I think that we've taken with this recommendation. Many of these projects have gone forward, and we'd like to get the projects completed. The High Street project is a project that's been going on now for probably 25 years. And, we've got a state commitment to replace that road, to put in brand-new sidewalks, brand-new curb line, and to deal with, within the state right-of-way, the drainage issues that exist there. And if we're going to start introducing a number of other things, then our concern is that we could potentially have additional delays. That road can't take additional delays, nor can we wait any longer as far as getting that project underway to get the restroom facilities on Main Street. And again, there's no dollars that are local dollars being expended. There's certainly federal dollars, but those federal dollars are made available for us to be able to enhance the business community. We don't see that as a safety issue at that location for that crossing.
other comments here at the table?
Teresa, I just want to ask you, you talk about the close proximity of the parking over, we're still on that same bike path right at downtown. What would you suggest besides what, obviously you can't, there's no legal parking right there at the bike path, although you say you've seen people park there. I don't usually, but how many spaces do you think would be necessary to protect the bikers going back and forth? Because in the memo we got from Andy Nada, it states that, we'd be staff would review the standards. I mean, the state law provides certain standards for parking and proximity to sidewalks, but, you know, maybe that's something we could work on. We could look and see if maybe if we expand the amount of area that you can't park in right there, that would help with the issue that you have, which is visibility of people coming across there.
Right. Just to be clear, no one parks directly in front of the bike path. It's, picture there was a line of cars, that
Right.
were allowed
No,
to
I've
be
seen
there.
it.
And then all of a sudden, there's a new piece of pavement that goes across. So it's literally as though someone had just erased the line where the bike path specifically crosses.
Yeah.
And that existing line is still there. So everybody thinks that it's a legal parking spot, and of course they should, because it is lined to be that way. So one of the recommendations in this is to make sure that the lines reflect
Right.
actual. I anticipate that there would be one parking spot on each side that would be removed. And I don't know if you've tried to pull out of the parking lot that abuts All That Matters building and where the intermodal station will be.
Right.
But your visibility is severely limited because the buildings are right up against the sidewalk. So you just have to keep inching and inching and inching, and then add a few parked cars there, and you're out halfway in the middle of the road before you can even see whether or not someone is coming, and even then you have limited visibility. But I do just want to address one thing that Steve had said. With all due respect, we have not heard the state, and we've spoken to the state, and I've included, I had sent along some discussions that we've had between the town and the state, and we've tried to follow the protocol that was established by our inquiries, but we have not had a single feedback from the state saying that any of these items that we're here to talk about tonight would delay a project. We don't want to delay a project for a minute. Maybe this intermodal station is a magical place where DOT just keeps saying, okay, 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 because of the long list that Steve has said. They bought it, they paved it, they did this, they did that, they agreed to it all. Well, I'll tell you, in my discussions with the director in the room, he's agreed that a bump out is something that they would consider. And so we need the town to come along at the next step and say, yeah, consider it. Get back to us. Let us know what it's going to cost, what it's going to add to the project. Let us know if there will be a delay. Right now, I've heard nothing from DOT that has said either of those two things that would allow me. I certainly don't want to hold up a project. I think that this is going to be a great thing to have the bathrooms there. Our goal is to make a project that's been stated very clearly as a safety priority in this paper a reality now, as opposed to when I'm in that 65 and older group, because who knows when DOT may come back. So honestly, we don't want to hold up a project. We don't want to price out a project out of range so that it doesn't happen. That's not our intention. Our intention is to strike while the iron is hot. I don't know how many other things I can, sayings I can throw in there, but I just think that now is the time to make these inquiries, because we don't know the next time DOT is going to come back in and do a major redo on High Street or on Main Street. So I feel it's almost incumbent upon us to make these inquiries fully to understand whether or not this can be done. And I know I've taken up a lot of time already. I had two other things that I'd hoped to talk about. One was High Street. I can forward along the correspondences that we've had with DOT. I know that the town has already received them. I don't know if you've had copies. I do have one copy of an email. They did a traffic study about a flashing light going across High Street where Wakefield Elementary School is. So we've got some communication back and forth on that issue. And then the last thing, we just really wanted to talk about how excited we are about the South County Commons Connector Path. Because when that came in, I think a lot of people were skeptical, and they said that this was exclusively a car-based development. And a lot of people were upset about that. And I just want to say that the town council has shown leadership in funding this pathway that allows students, parents, people of all ages to be able to get from essentially the YMCA area or the dog park area or the ballpark field area directly to the commons without accessing a car. And a group of us have gone in and spoken to some 30 different business owners in the Commons, letting them know that it's there. They have been so excited about this project. And, this really, I see this as an opportunity to open up an economic stream that hadn't been opened. I can imagine my daughter in 3 years riding her bicycle to the movies up there. We're unfortunate that we lost one downtown, but now there will be a safe way for our families to get to the South County Commons without having to rely on rides from their parents. And I think that really opens up a whole new economic avenue for all those business owners there. And from how excited they were about it, I just wanted to share that enthusiasm with you all and say thank you for having the vision to go ahead and formalize that path.
Jim?
Yes, Steve, in regards to that path, I know you've held numerous year after year conversations with the owner of South County Commons, and we have tried very hard to convince him to do that other part of the connection. All the businesses want it. The town's been working hard on it. Mr. Alfred carries on conversations almost quarterly with the owner. At some point, hopefully it'll happen, but Steve, maybe fill us in on the latest.
There is no latest.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I think that what the capital budget laid out was two different options. One was an option where we would have a paving of the area that the town owns. Logistically, there's difficulty in doing that as a single project. One of the major problems is that because that's such a beautiful cantilevered area, there's no place to turn the trucks around that are going to be bringing in either the gravel. So there's some major costs that I think are going to have to be looked at. We're going to need to find out whether we can, in fact, install turnaround areas before we even consider the construction. We have put that on the back burner at this point. It's part of the capital budget. It would be funded locally with impact fees that were collected for recreation purposes. It certainly is a pet project of everybody on staff. We want to see it accomplished, but at the same time, it's difficult for us to see us put in 1,700 feet of paved area that then is going to go to a marshy area that on the private property. The switchback that's necessary at the Commons is also one from a safety perspective. I'm not sure we want to promote people getting onto that private property unless the private property is appropriately maintained. So there's still an ongoing dialogue. It is a project that we will complete. How long it takes us to complete is yet to be seen. I don't want to jump into it. The other thing, too, is that that was the project that also took DEM approvals. The DEM approvals are in place, they've been told at this point. And I think they'll be good for another couple of years, or at least one more year. But we've got to do drainage improvements there, and we have to provide culverts for safe passage of animals under the walkway itself. So there's some costs that are there and some construction logistics that are going to have to be addressed before we can really move on with that project. And it just has been a low priority based on the fact that we are concerned about promoting access into a private property that may not be adequate for the public, particularly a lot of the elderly population, which is using a portion of the path right now.
Thank you.
Any other comments here at the table?
So see, Teresa, we agree on one thing.
I think I'm a little more optimistic on it. I just, I did get to walk it and I did get to bike it, and just the enthusiasm of everyone that I met on the path was through the roof. And if the town takes the initiative and does this first part, that's actually the wettest of the areas. My understanding is we have existing culverts. We have existing culverts to allow for the passage of the animals,
Not so.
No? Okay, that was just figured into the capital improvement? Okay. I mean, it's unfortunate that we missed the opportunity with DEM, had a grant for us several years ago, and we weren't able to follow through on it because of the private property issue. And as Steve had mentioned, we have, the General Assembly granted an extension to the tolling, so all of the permits from many years ago, when the economic downturn began, have been extended. And we just did it for another, I think, 2 years, but that was almost a year ago now. I don't know how much of an appetite there will be at the State House to continue to extend existing permits. So, you know, you have to balance that as well. And I am speaking to more and more business owners, and now we're starting to talk to the residents of that area to have them encourage the private property owner to think more about it, because it really would enhance the value of his property, his leasing ability, if we did open up this economic avenue. You know, I mean, those kids, they have money, those families, you know, those dog walkers that are going over and buying biscuits for their dogs, and, you know, from the dog park to there, I think that it would only make South County Commons that much more of a desirable place to rent, to live in, or to have a business at. So I think it's one of those, if you build it, they will come, so.
Wasn't the question though, Steve, I recall, we could do our part because the town owns part, but the private property owner at this point is not willing to do his part.
Yeah. Originally, before the economy took the dive, they were interested in the project, and then it became something where they were going to have difficulty being able to address it, and that's where we stand now. We didn't lose out on an opportunity with the state grant. We lost the state grant because we couldn't put the package together with the private sector, and we needed to do the entire project to be able to take part with that grant. So, I mean, at this point, we need to see the property owner be able to step up. We think that we may be able to see that commitment sometime in the future. I think also some of the businesses are very interested, whether it's the hotel or the athletic club or the coffee shop or the restaurants that are there are interested in that as an additional amenity that would be available to those folks. And I think that if we're going to see the owner change, we're going to need to see the businesses promote it with him as well.
And we will continue our efforts on educating the business owners and the residents. So I think, you know, it's something that we're looking forward to.
I think sometime in the future that we're all looking forward, you know, to having that. And I know Steve has even been quoted as saying that when that does come to fruition, that will be the nicest part of the bike path. It's just a beautiful area back there. So looking at your presentation, Teresa, I think that I did hear that we're all in agreement with we don't really want any more delays with the comfort station. So I think at this time, if we refer it back to both of you, that if, you know, something can be done and we are guaranteed no delays, then maybe we'll take a look at something further. But that comfort station, that's got to move forward. And the High Street, you know, 25 years, we just don't want to put it off anymore. And I think I heard you in agreement with that too, that you're not looking for any delays.
Right.
I just wanted to add one more comment, is that one of the other things that I think is important with the bump out discussion is that there needs to be input from the business community. One of the things we've promised the business community in the past, both with this council and past councils, is that we're not going to take actions on Main Street that we don't solicit their input. And I think that you are going to have a mixed opinion on bump outs if in fact they see it as a means of reducing existing parking. And it may be a case that they're not looking at this one as being the problem, but the next one or the next one that may have impact on the parking. When you think of the number of crosswalks that you have on Main Street, you don't want one dissimilar from the others. So if we're going to move, we should move in a manner that looks at how do you deal with the overall area of that compact business district and be able to have people that aren't familiar with the driving patterns be able to see what it is and be able to react accordingly. So again, no one is opposed to studying the issue. All I'm suggesting is that there's too many things that need to be reviewed in the time necessary to get it incorporated into that type of a project. And whether it's the drainage, whether it's the public input, whether it's the commercial input, those things really should be brought forward and discussed before we would be asking DOT to change plans or to add that to the design. So again, I don't want to look as if we're in an adversarial position. We're not. But what we're saying is that the best planning is careful planning. And we can't move forward unless we really know where everybody is on this issue.
Well, with the council's permission, I would like to approach DOT to find out whether or not it would be a delay. And for clarity's sake, the bump out would not remove any legally existing or conforming use of parking in that area. So the business owners may be objecting perhaps to the loss of space that is not appropriately being used at this time. But when it comes in, you've got the report in front of you with the number of pedestrian accidents that happen on Main Street, car accidents. We have to, well, I shouldn't say we, it's your responsibility to weigh those considerations. So no parking spots will be harmed in, or legally conforming parking spots will be harmed in the preparation of the bump out. So,
I did actually, after we talked, I did actually do the walk all the way down Main Street and around the corner and up the river. And there are, I didn't really check out, I can't picture in my brain what is across the street, but in front of that Arnold's Lumber, there is a parking space there. And it's not directly, with the crosswalk, but I think that parking space would definitely be, gone. So I think that what I've learned from being on the town council with, working with Mr. Alfred, definitely there's a study. I think that you have brought this to our table, and I think that this conversation will continue. If you would like to go gather that information and pass it on to Steve Alford to, bring back to the town council, that would be interesting.
okay.
And I think that in preparation for capital improvement, looking at that, this may resurface some of these topics with, getting a study done. And the last thing that I want to say, and working with Mr. Alfred, is you say that this is cost effective to do it now, and he's always looking at every penny that he can with any kind of grants. And I do think that it's wise, rather than just do one, to look at all of them, because looking at children crossing streets, if it is a bump out at one but not at another, and the children, really move closer out into the street without a bump out there, I do caution that, being a former educator and the way that children think, maybe it is the way to move with looking at all of the crosswalks doing bump outs versus just one. So we do appreciate the conversation, and it's not the end of this conversation. So we will continue the dialogue and keep bringing it up, to Mr. Alfred as well.
Absolutely. You've been very generous with your time tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I add one more thing?
Please, Meg.
And then I know you're pretty much done, but I would ask you as part of the DOT study, if you're interested in doing something like that, that is right near where the new bank is coming in. Right now, that's a vacant parking lot across from Arnold Lumber.
Right.
So the traffic is not such that it's really inhibiting too much. And I'm not saying with the bank that it would be, but there's gonna be people coming in and out of there that'll be going right down to that red light or going right past that red light and through the crosswalk. So if there's bump outs there, I just want to get a handle if there potentially could be a bottleneck there, and I don't wanna make it more dangerous, I wanna make it less dangerous. So that's one of the things I'd like you to bring up.
Okay, absolutely.
Thank you.
We appreciate your comments and your efforts. Thank you. All right. So somebody want to make a motion, please?
I'll make a motion that we file Communication F and do further study regarding all issues contained therein.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries 5-0-0. Next item on the agenda is comments from interested citizens. And at this time, I'm going to open the microphone and ask you to come forward and state your name. Martha Stamp, please come forward. Welcome.
Well, my name is Martha Stamp from South Kingstown. I haven't been here in quite a while. I just want some clarification on if in 2040, from the representative, that a quarter of the population will be under 65. Am I to understand that the rest of the people are going to be seniors? I tell you, I'm a senior, and you know what? A bike path is certainly wonderful for these young people, but in 40 years, or actually it's 24 years, a 40-year-old person is going to be 93. So at 93, you know, you're not concerned about a $1 million outhouse. I've been in outhouses, and the kicker on the thing is the last sentence in what I read in the South County Independent, that the taxpayers are going to have to pick up the cost. Now, we have lots of problems, both individually and old age, and an outhouse that is a Taj Mahal on a bike path is not one of them. We have health issues, numerous of them, but we survive in the wonderful community. And I do want to say that I have cancer for a second time, and I am receiving the most wonderful care at South County Hospital. I have been treated like a queen, and sometimes I can't always be that queen. And you all know me, so you know what I can do. Now, if we need an outhouse, I once went to a former governor's outhouse down at, well, I shouldn't say, down on the shore. It was the most beautiful outhouse I had ever been in. It was all white, it was big, it could accommodate men and women. You opened the door, you went in, you did your business. You don't need 2, you don't need 5, 1. If there happens to be somebody in a wheelchair on the bike path, put a plank. We lived on a farm, and we got by with sometimes planks. And an outhouse, maybe. I never had the privilege of being in, having to use an outhouse, but I remember my grandmother with the Sears Roebuck catalog and all the stories they told. So I would hope that the town council has the taxpayers in mind, because in 2040, if this is what the representative is talking about, there's going to be a lot more problems. And at that point, I'll be in my 90s. I hope I'm still here, but they've given me enough medicine. Hopefully, I'll be here for another 15 to 20 years. But I think outsourcing is the good way to go. You wouldn't have any payroll, you wouldn't have any retirement, you wouldn't have any pensions. Oh, pensions, that's another thing. In 2040, there'll be no pensions, because if you have 75% of the population being seniors, look at the healthcare problems. I mean, there's so many problems that you have to contend with right now. That a Taj Mahal for an outhouse is not necessary.
Thank you, Martha. Other comments from interested citizens? Welcome.
Thank you. Keith Forhaven. I wanted to share with you an experience I had today, knowing that this bump out conversation would take place. I wanted to take an opportunity to pull into the municipal parking lot next to All That Matters and pull back out so I could speak firsthand to what it was like. Because as someone who lives downtown, I don't really drive downtown, I walk downtown. You pull out of the municipal parking lot, and before you can see the traffic, you need to be on the sidewalk, basically with the bumper of your car almost in the road, so you can see the traffic coming back and forth. And with the two cars parked between the bike path and the driveway for all that matters, it's an impediment to the visibility. And as I inched my way out, I saw that it was clear, and I pulled out. There was somebody on the bike path. They hit the button, the light turns red. They cross the bike path because the light's red and the traffic stopped. While the light was still red, the traffic continued to move forward, going through a red light. And therein lies my concern for the safety factor, and the reason I would support a bump out. Because as a pedestrian, before you can see that it's clear to go through, even with the red light, you have to be in the road. And it sounds ironic that it would happen the one time that I'm pulling out, and I suspect that it's not the one time and only time that it's ever happened, but indeed a car went through the red light. So maybe there's a law enforcement issue here. Maybe it's as simple as not allowing cars to park there simply because of the visibility issue. But with this anecdotal experience I'm sharing with you, you can see the value of a bump out. It puts the pedestrians safely into the road where they can see it, and it shortens the distance to get across. And I understand the concerns of slowing down the project. Nobody's interested in that. But my concern, the reason why I would support it at this point is because I'm concerned looking into the future. If there was an accident and it convinced everybody that, you know what, we do need to make this safer, it would be more expensive to do it as a standalone project as it would be to do it part of the project. And I'm saying that not really completely certain of that statement, but it seems consistent to me that if you have the crews there, you have the roadway already being torn up, you got the roadway blocked off, you got the trucks backing up with the cement, it would seem to me that it would be the most efficient and cost-effective point to put those bump outs in. So I'm just voicing my support for that, and I'm sharing that information with you. And I would encourage you to not take anyone's word for it. Go drive down, pull into the municipal parking lot, and pull back out and see what your experience is. Secondarily, on a totally different subject, I'd like to voice my support for Roland for appointment to the school committee. I think highly of him. I've had many conversations with him. I can speak to his character. I can speak to his knowledge and his understanding and his passion. And I think it would be a smart move to appoint him. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from interested citizens?
Hi, my name is Kateri Collins, and I'm nervous and shaky, but I had to get up here because I'm a mother of 3, and we moved to South Kingstown because it was walkable and bikeable. I have a 6-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 12-year-old. We've all had terrifying experiences in crosswalks. My 10-year-old felt passionate enough to come, even though I told her it was going to be really boring, and she said, no, I want to come. So I think anything that can improve the safety of the crosswalks. We use the bike path constantly. We bike to school every day, and we've almost gotten killed multiple times in crosswalks. And I've written letters. I know my husband has come and spoken, and everybody's received our information with the knowledge that, yes, speed is an issue, and pedestrian and bike safety is an issue. So I would encourage you to do anything that you can, including bump outs, to improve the safety of pedestrians and bikers. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Any other comments? Roland?
So I'm Roland Benjamin, obviously. I want to talk about bump outs. Just kidding. As you can imagine, I listened to Representative speak and Keith as well, but I'm pretty distracted and I have a single focus and passion on tonight. You read my letter. You understand that I wish to be appointed to this vacancy on the school committee. At least 3 of you interviewed me for a vacancy that opened last year. But 2 haven't. Just a little bit about myself, which is in the letter. I won't repeat it too much, but I own a business. I know what it's like to run an organization with 75 employees. In 2012, we were awarded the best places to work in Rhode Island, so I understand the nature of working with people, especially in an organization where the people are the greatest asset. I don't know that you can. I know you can make that same comparison to our school systems, to our town, and everything. So. This is an area that I have an incredible amount of experience and success. I've been coaching kids since I moved to South Kingstown, since my oldest became eligible to play. I coached 2 to 3 youth sports teams a season. In some cases, the number of children that I've coached in town is in the hundreds. Coaching a team is at least, a single team is at least 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a week, depending on the level of the team. And I've coached all my kids, and sometimes in the same season. I've been around many parents. You can see the amount of support that I've had, just even recently on this current appointment process. But beyond that, in the last election, I've worked directly with the school system on the accountability subcommittee. You can see some of the efforts of that work. It's a pretty important piece. There's a number of budgetary responsibilities that are there, but it's bigger than just financial. It's about organizational metrics to say, is this system doing what we want it to do? Accountability is there to try to build some of those metrics. And for the last 3 years, I've been active in that, beyond just sitting there and saying to the superintendent, this is a good idea. I would say, this is how I do it in my business. This is what I've done. If we have employee satisfaction types of things, I say, look, here's my survey. This is what we do. This is how we respond to this feedback. If I'm looking at customer satisfaction, which the school department also does, I said, this is what we do. Use what is valuable in this, which has shown to be successful in my world, and put it into practice in this organization. There are definitely differences, but there are a lot of overlaps when you talk about organizational management that I've put into place in my own business and helped put into place here. I've been involved with the budget process for the last 4 years as part of this accountability committee. I've also I've run separate models on going back to 2008, 2009 that have almost identically matched the current trend of what the school department's been spending. So, and I've run for office for 2 election cycles here. What I've done is shown a passion and a commitment to want to serve this community. I've done it on a soccer field, I've done it on a basketball court, I've done it in administration building in the school department. These are all parts of what I've done. In the last school year, I bought and donated 3 iPads to one of the classrooms at Wakefield School. I've already committed to doing that again this year. I have 3 kids in the system. This is an important school system to me. These are all parts of my passion and my willingness to serve. Many of you have said I'm highly qualified. I've heard it, you know. I heard it in 2012 when the last appointment was made, and I wasn't chosen then. Highly qualified, what a great asset to the town. All right, so we all know that you've said it, you think highly of me, I get it. Okay, great. But now you have to make a decision between me and another respected member of the community. And I'll tell you that I have an enormous amount of respect for Tony. We have friends, our kids we have at least one kid that's the same age, so we've got some overlapping friends and we hear all the conversations and all the scuttlebutt that goes around. I also have friends whose parents he saved in his practice. He is an amazing man, there's no question about it. And he served the community for almost 8 years. And then he stopped. And we heard part of the reasons why he stopped. He resigned within about 6 months left in his remaining term. It was, as Mr. O'Neill stated, time constraints, but there was also several different indications throughout the year, especially from the point when I started getting engaged on the Wakefield school discussions. Tony had come back from one of his trips to Africa, and I remember the quote in the Independent. The intent of the quote was basically, look, I can't get passionate about these issues anymore when I've seen what I've seen in Africa. All right, that was sort of the beginning of when we saw Dr. Mega start to say, okay, I got to put the problems, and frankly, we were talking in some ways about even the Wakefield school community. We saw that uproar. I was involved with it, and I tried to keep as calm as I could, but it was an important piece to us. But we saw that a little bit of that passion start to erode. You may remember these comments. And that culminated with just 6 months left in the term. He needed to step down. Now, I would say I was in some ways surprised to have heard his name in this process. And I'll tell you, again, from having shared friends, I would say that he's at best a reluctant participant in the process. Now, if he ended up getting the appointment, I would not doubt his commitment. But he didn't. I don't believe that he wanted to do this, and I believe there was his commitment and his passion has already been demonstrated. He served his time, and then he wanted it to be over. And now we're talking about the last piece here. I want to serve. That is what I'm here for. All right? I'll tell you this. As soon as I heard about the opening from Liz, I drafted my letter and made sure that it was on time to get onto the agenda. I'm here tonight. I attended the last annual retreat of the South Kingstown School Department with the school committee as a member of one of these subcommittees. I have nothing bad to say about Tony Mega. I just will tell you that his engagement here, he served his time, and his role in this process is I guess curious, but I'm less concerned about that as much as I want to say that I want to serve. You've seen me. I've been interviewed by you. I've been voted on. There is every reason. I have endorsements in the past process, endorsements in this process. I have an endorsement from somebody that worked with Tony Mega for 8 years on the school committee, written in the paper. All right? This is the point. The only real differentiation I can make right now in your mind, and I was a little bit stunned to have this information come out as I walked in here, but the only thing I can differentiate on is that I think the information is there to say that Tony was done. He served his time, he served well, he was well respected, and now he is, became a reluctant participant in this. And I think that's unfortunate. I would add just, one of the things that I was asked when I was interviewed for Tony Mega's replacement last, I think it was August, it was important. There were 3 candidates in the mix, you'll recall. And one of the significant pieces of information that was asked of me was, do I intend to run to fill out the term, not to fill out the term, but to run for school committee in November. That was an important piece of information, and I in the interview process we had already filed, but up to that point, we had heard that priority would be placed on the candidates that were willing to continue with their commitment to the school committee. I was one of the 3 candidates was basically ruled out because they did not want to run. I would ask you, and if I have the honor of being appointed to this position, I do intend to carry out that term and ask the voters to let me continue that term. I'm not certain, and I don't know whether Tony would do that, but I would say that I will. So there is a big differentiation, and I would say that of all the people in the community that I'm reluctant to get up here and try to compare myself to, I'm sorry that it's Tony, but I will tell you that well, you have a decision to make tonight, and I hope that you'll do the right one, make the right one. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions here at the town council table?
Of all the speakers tonight?
I know we're in comments, right, but I'm just going to ask if there's any comments that you want to direct toward me or any information. Can I do that, Mike? For appointments, right, we can do it then. Okay. All right, so we are still at comments from interested citizens. I'm going to, again, please come to the microphone.
Hello. My name is Mark Getches, and I'm not familiar with the process here, so I just want to make sure my questions are about new business 13B. And that, when that comes up, will I have an opportunity to ask my questions then, or do I have to ask them now?
We'll give you that opportunity
Then?
then.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from interested citizens? I have a few dates that I just want to bring to your attention. On Saturday, I believe it could have been Sunday, I just wanted to let the public know that I had the experience of going to Asa Pond, and we had probably 40 firefighters there, and I've just have the highest respect for the fire department that we have here in South Kingstown with 140-some volunteers, but just brought my level of respect to another whole level. They had demonstrations with, using the jaws of life on cars, and they also were going to do a demonstration with a burn unit. We have the state-of-the-art facility, the only one in the state where we can train our fire department on how to enter into a situation that, burning house. So it was quite impressive. They would like to extend an invitation to the town council to come and see that. They are doing one this Wednesday at 7, and it's fire department number 3. So if we can talk a little later before we adjourn, if anybody's interested in doing that. Otherwise, maybe there's another date that is better for us. So I just wanted to also just state a few other dates. The Fire Department is doing on September 21st at Shaw's parking lot. It's going to be 10 to 2, and it's Touch a Truck for all of the youngsters in town. They can climb all over the fire trucks. And our police department will be there doing safety belt checks and car seat checks. So I think that's just another opportunity for the youth and the families in our community to attend. Again, September 21st, 10 to 2 at Shaw's parking lot. And the very next day is September 22nd. We have our Firemen's Parade that will be starting at Peacedale Mill at 12 o'clock with a special ceremony. And then the parade steps off at the Peacedale Fire Station at 1 o'clock. So that is September 22nd. And I'm sure that we'll all be marching. Yes?
I will be in Kentucky.
No, you'll be in Kentucky. Okay, so I will respond back that we have 4 town council members. And October 5th is also another fire department thing where they're going to have a recruitment day for the fire departments, and every fire station in the town is going to be open from 10 to 2. So October 5th, that's also the day that we have the Festival Fete down on Main Street. So that's going to be a very, very busy day here in South Kingstown. I just wanted to remember town council members that we have October 5th again, that seems to be the date here in South Kingstown, that we have the First Church of God 85th anniversary celebration, if anybody can make that. I think it's at the Radisson Airport Hotel at 12 o'clock, and we do have a town proclamation. I will not be able to attend, so if somebody can do that, that would be wonderful. Another item I just want to talk about is some wonderful events going on at the Elks. They have a program called Honor Flight, where on November 2nd, they are taking 25 World War II vets from South Kingstown with a sponsor to the World War II monument in Washington. So some of these World War II vets are getting up there in age, and we really want to appreciate, and the Elks is stepping forward with that. And I believe there was Ocean State Job Lot made a $250,000 donation to get 3 planes to fly these 25 vets, World War II vets, to the memorial. So I think that's just real earth-shattering, movement for some of our vets. There's also a family day, September 28th at the Elks, where they're going to be honoring vets. They're going to have food trucks and music, and the tickets are $10. And then the last thing that, as we speak, we're planning a process with the VFW Ladies Auxiliary for November 9th to welcome back, along with the Veterans Committee at the Elks, to welcome back Joe Tiger Patrick, who's doing that walk. He started in California, and he's arriving back here sometime around the beginning of November. So November 9th, if you can mark your calendars, it's 5 to 8. It's going to be at the Elks, a ham and bean dinner, and it's to welcome Joe back, who's carrying that flag for all of the fallen heroes in Afghanistan. So I think that's going to be a great opportunity for, again, South Kingstown. We've also been asked as a town council to come up with a proclamation. I'm going to pass the information on to Dale for, in September, they're asking us to declare this in South Kingstown National Suicide Month for veterans, and if we can recognize that. I have some information I'll pass on, and maybe we can have that at the next agenda for a proclamation declaring September National Suicide Month, because right before the holidays with the vets, it's really a very dangerous time. Let's see. And we were supposed to have a young lady who's celebrating her 21st birthday here tonight, but I don't see her. But I would like to mention to the town council that we have Emily Maxwell, who is a graduate of South Kingstown High School, and she has entered herself into the Martha Stewart contest with some note cards. Maybe you've seen it around the community with sign language on her cards. Inspire, Empower, Achieve. And if you can go online to the Martha Stewart website and vote for her, I think the voting ends September 13th, but she's collected quite a lot of votes Today is her 21st birthday, and if she does win this, I think it's a $10,000 prize, and she's able to start her own business with these cards. And I believe that some businesses in town have been very generous to accept her cards that she's designed. So that's one of our 21-year-olds who's starting her own business, and quite excited for her, and we wish her a happy birthday and wish that she could be with us tonight. And I'm going to leave it at that.
That's an awful lot of good things happening in our community.
And there are many more that I can list, Jim, but I'm going to keep it at that. Any other town councilor have
Very fortunate.
any comments? The Matunic Village
Great.
study that the town did, the town staff did a great job at that. Thank you for that presentation. All right, we ready to move on? Town managers report.
A couple of items I wanted to touch on. One is that there's two items in the report. One is under item J in the September 5th, and also under item E in the August 29th. And this pertains to the rate increase that's been filed by United Water. I think council's aware that we purchase from United Water for both South Shore and the Middlebridge water systems. The rate increase that's been filed amounts to a 42.59, or let's say 43% increase over current rate. Current rate went into effect with the last PUC approval on a 2011 rate increase request by United Water, and that took effect in January of 2012. So we're looking at, within the course of an 18-month period, increases that would put us well over 50% between those two were they to be approved through PUC. Michael has filed at our request for intervention status and to be an intervening party into the Public Utilities Commission's evaluation of the filing application by United Water. We've also had discussions with the town of Narragansett, who also purchases water, and with the Union Fire District, who pays for fire hydrants in the United Fire District service area. The cost to South Kingstown alone, were that rate increase to be approved over the current year budget for purchased water, would be about $70,000. What my recommendation to council at this point would be is to see if we can secure a consultant that would work on behalf of Narragansett, South Kingstown, and potentially the fire district to be able to properly evaluate the rate filing and to enter testimony if necessary based on that evaluation. I've asked John Schock, in coordination with Jeff Cesarine, the engineer from Narragansett, to prepare an appropriate scope of services, which they have. We will be soliciting proposals and coming back to the council in the immediate future to be able to ask for authorization to proceed on that matter. The intervening status, the first hearing, I believe Mike will report on, is scheduled. I think that we're going to need to act expeditiously in terms of getting a consultant on board and getting the evaluation of the rate filing. It's a voluminous document, but needs to be reviewed in detail to determine whether or not the rate of return that is being proposed by United is appropriate based on what their expenditures have been. I can't give you more detail on it at this point, but I would hope to, within the next 2 weeks to a month, to be able to have a consultant proposal before you. The cost would be paid for through the retained earnings held within the Water Reserve Fund, and with whatever negotiated contract could be held with the other interested parties of Narragansett and United District. We've looked at each of those entities would be impacted similarly as South Kingstown would be, were the rate to be approved as presented. Do I think the rate would be as presented would be approved? The answer would be no. But I do think that there's a need for due diligence on all interested parties' part to ensure that the fairest rate review is provided and that the proper questions are asked. If there's no questions, I think that what we will also do is, at the time that the consultant is approved, ask the council as a agenda item to indicate full support for the intervenor status that has been filed at the staff's request.
Thank you. Do we have questions here for Steve?
No.
Okay,
thought for
second,
sure.
Let's get at it. Let's
All right,
do
second
this.
item is on the experimental coastal control regulations. As I mentioned in the pre-session, that meeting will be held tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock at the same building, the Department of Administration building, across from the State House, 1 Capitol Hill Conference A. Vin and I will be attending on behalf. Eller has indicated that she would also join us at that meeting. We've looked at the agenda. While the agenda could be moved around, it's currently scheduled as the last item on the agenda, which isn't unusual. On policymaking, they usually do have those items as a latter item, and they deal with the applications that are pending before them as the first orders of business. So I would expect that it will be after 6 o'clock start that that item will be reached by the CRMC Council. But we will be there, and we will present, based on the council's approval, the letter that has been drafted on Ella's behalf to present for the town. Third item I wanted to mention is that at the previous meeting, question was on where we stood with the Teft Hill emergency access easement. At this point, the easement has been negotiated, we think, to all parties' satisfaction. It'll be going to the Teft Hill Association's meeting, I believe sometime this week. Once they've signed off on it, it will come back to the council. The agreement, in summary, does nothing more than to extend a 25-foot wide easement running from Whitehorn Drive to Enterprise Terrace. It does not extinguish our rights for the 50-foot right-of-way which exists between Whitehorn Drive and the High Meadow property. So we would still have the opportunity, where the council direct the installation of a emergency access in either direction or in both directions. Once this is completed, we'll forward that to the council. We bring it forward this evening because we do believe that we've got the final arrangements in place, but we do not have a final recommendation. I truly believe that there is never going to be consensus from the various neighborhoods on the issue of how many emergency access points should be developed, or if any should be developed at all. Certainly, Biscuit City is not the only street within the community that has limited access, or one way in and one way out. But this is something that has been evaluated by the community for many years. I don't think we're going to see a consensus developed, but if we are going to consider holding informational hearings, I think that notice needs to be provided on all 3 sides or legs of the easement areas, and to provide people with an opportunity to be able to comment before the council makes any final decisions on that matter. Those are the 3 items that I wanted to go bring forward. I'd certainly answer questions on any of the other items that were presented to you over the past month.
Does anyone have any questions for Steve?
No.
Steve, the Teft Hill emergency access easement, what is their meeting, the homeowners association taking place on September 12th? Is that a closed meeting, or will somebody from the town be attending?
No, that's their meeting.
Their
that's
meeting, so it's closed.
meeting. We don't plan on attending. Their attorney has been dealing directly with Michael as far as the negotiation of that.
And I was wondering if anybody from the audience wanted to speak on that issue. I see somebody in the audience.
Yes, I'd like to. My name is Richard Casper. I'm one of the 3 directors of the board of the Teft Hill Farm Homeowners Association. And we did have a meeting last Thursday to talk about this issue. And we're kind of at an impasse. I know that Mr. Alfred has stated that we've reached resolution, but I still have some very pointed questions to ask. That it would appear that in exchange for simply giving the town another easement between Whitehorn Drive, Biscuit City, and Enterprise Terrace and Heritage, unencumbered, in perpetuity, all we would ask is that the existing 50-foot right-of-way between High Meadow Lane and Whitehorn be amended, just one number in the easement, from 50 feet in width to 25 feet in width. And the reason for that is all the homeowners that are abutting, that are all approximate homeowners, are afraid that 50 foot being the standard width of a road, that we will eventually see a full width road there. If it were to become 25 feet, then we would feel confident that it would only be used as for bicycles and for fire engines and emergency vehicles. We just completely do not understand how the town can expect us to give them a 25-foot easement and not give us anything in return. All we're asking for is to amend the existing easement from 50 feet to 25 feet. And I'm just flabbergasted that the town's administrators are immovable on that point.
Ella, a couple of
It's not
things.
really, yeah. it's-
It's not on the agenda.
Agenda.
Now, if you want to add it to the agenda to discuss it, you certainly may vote to add it, but if we're going to have a discussion back and forth, we'd have to add it to the agenda.
And at that point, all the homeowners of which I speak will gladly attend, and we'll just go through the same process again. We'd like to complete this in time for the next town council meeting. It can be constructed before the end of the year. We can put this 12-year ordeal behind us. But again, our opinion is that the town's administrators are immovable. For some reason, they will not modify the existing 50-foot easement to one that's 25-foot in width. And if you want, you can have that. We'll give you the 25-foot easement between Whitehorn and Heritage. You can make it 50 feet, unencumbered utilities, in perpetuity. All we're asking you to do is to change that one number in the existing easement. And we just don't know why you won't.
Mike, I'm going to put this in your hands for a future discussion with the discussion that's going back and forth.
I will, and I'll certainly discuss it with Don Packer, who will get to his
We good
client.
with
but
that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Steve with Town Manager's report? Town Solicitor's report?
Just quickly, one more follow-up on United Water rate increase. The Union Fire District on Friday also did in fact file a motion to intervene. My feeling is that it will of course be granted, so that way South Kingstown, Narragansett, and the Union Fire District will be able to work in tandem and hopefully combine our resources in presenting whatever experts, et cetera, that we need to do with regard to the hearing process coming up. There is a meeting on September 20th to set, it's just a procedural hearing to set future dates for hearings, et cetera. And once I have that information, my office will be at that meeting. We'll report back to the council.
Thank you. Any questions for Michael? All right, which brings us to appointments. And before we get into the conversation, we interviewed 2 people tonight, and I didn't know if somebody wanted to make that motion.
I move that we appoint Ken Burke to the Affordable Housing Collaborative Committee. His term would, there's two vacancies, right, Dale?
Yeah.
That expire in August 2016, so his term would go to August 2016.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries 500.
I also would like to move to appoint Roland Fiore to the Economic Development Committee. There's 5 vacancies there. His term, I would say let's appoint him till March of 2016. That sound right?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries 500. Just want to make sure that we're not,
We have reappointments on the Conservation Commission. You want to put them on? But we could wait till the end of September.
yeah, that would be,
And then there's Celeste Corcoran on
right, let's do that.
Partnership for Prevention. I move that we reappoint Dr. Celeste Corcoran to the Partnership for Prevention. Her term would go till June 2016. Dale, does that sound right? Because her original term expired in June of 2013. Okay, so she'd go from June 2016.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries 500.
And we have an appointment to the school committee.
All right, and let's start the dialogue here.
Should I make a motion? Or do you want to? Well, you want me to start? I'm going to move to appoint Dr. Anthony Mega to the school committee. He has served on the school committee successfully from 2004 to the year 2012, although I feel Roland Benjamin has made a compelling argument for his case. I disagree with the fact that Tony Mager is a reluctant participant. I think he's a very, he's not reluctant at all. My conversations with him, and I've had one brief conversation, he expressed a great desire to serve again. The difference between this appointment and I would say the remainder of his, the last appointment, he resigned in July, and his term was up at the beginning of November. I think that was such a short amount of time to appoint anybody. This is a full year. I think he's a proven advocate for education, teachers, children, programs, a fiscally responsible and minded person. He's proved himself again and again. He's a medical doctor. He's an associate professor of medicine and surgery at the Alpert Medical School of Brown University. He's an associate professor of allied health at Johnson & Wales University. He can start, he could show up at the next school committee meeting and not miss a beat. The transition would be unnoticeable. For all of those reasons, I recommend Dr. Anthony Mega, and I nominate him for school committee.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that with all the reasons that Carol gave. I think she hit it right on the head. He's a qualified candidate, ready to run, ready to hit the ground running, and I think the school committee needs what he can bring to the table right now, and especially cohesion and bringing the whole group together. So happy to second his nomination.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any other nominations? Do we have further discussion to add to this motion? Two other town council members who have anything to add?
I guess I just want to add one thing. It's hard to make a decision when you have very, very, very qualified people. And I, for one, am extremely pleased that we've had several viable candidates step up to the plate that would be interested in this position. And as a community, I think we need to embrace the fact that we have people who are willing to do a fantastic job. The unfortunate thing is not everybody can be appointed. So It's a very difficult decision at this level, and I applaud everybody who has shown consideration for this position. And I want to thank everybody, and that's all I want to add. It's a tough choice.
My notes that I've taken is, just did a T-chart and put Roland and put Tony and tried to compare the strengths and a lot of similar dedication to the town. I look at, the subcommittees that Roland serves on with the Accountability Subcommittee, and I look at even when Tony left the school committee, he still remained dedicated to the high school landscape committee to follow that through with fruition. And I think there's going to be some grant funding coming out very soon that will make that come to fruition for our students at the high school. So even though he had left the school committee table, he remained, on some subcommittees. I'm not sure if he's still on the wellness committee, but it's definitely kudos to the town if he has still remained on that. And then I look at the budget responsibilities with both candidates, that we're discussing tonight, with Roland owning his own budget, his business and doing the budget, and, also looking at Tony owning basically his own business with the Mega Foundation up there by Miriam Hospital. So I see similar, characteristics there. And then also looking at, the 8 years is really what is key for me. The 8 years that Tony has already served, that will give him a little more, I think, experience with being a candidate that the town council is looking at tonight. Short amount of time that he has left, I think some of the same issues are still at the school committee table. And I just want to add, I think that the school committee is in need of someone to pull the dialogue together. I've attended some school committee meetings recently, and I've viewed them, and I really think that they are in a position with all of the mandates that are coming down from the state. We have a lot of things going on in the classrooms, and the great demands with administrators doing all the evaluations of their principals. I think that we have a school committee that really would be helpful, and I think that Roland would do a great job at that as well, but I think that Tony just already has that experience in doing that as a school committee member. So this has been a tough decision for me, but I think that Tony brings just that little extra experience because he was a member on the school committee for 8 years. So that is, how I will vote. I didn't know if there's any other conversation from any other town council member. Roland, I truly appreciate the work that you do for this town, and you are, never ending, and just give and give and give. And, I am heartbroken that, that you're always there, and again, you are not going to be, getting this appointment, and I don't know what to say. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Actually, abstentions, opposed, abstention, motion carries 5-0-0. Okay, next item on the agenda is new business B. This is a resolution authorizing an award of bid to HK&S Construction Holding Corporation, 51 America's Cup Avenue, Newport, Rhode Island, for the Matunic Beach Road Protection Improvement Project, subject to approval by the Rhode Island Department of Transportation, in an amount not to exceed $1,198,534, including a $200,000 contingency, and is further described in a memorandum from the Public Services Director to the Town Manager dated September 3rd, 2013, and entitled Bid Recommendation, Matunic Beach Road Protection Improvement Project. I'm going to turn it over to Steve.
The council's in receipt of a recommendation for award of bid from the Public Services Director, John Schock. This is for the installation of a 202-foot long sheet pile wall that would be installed to the west of the existing Ocean Mist property. It would run along the property that the town council authorized acquisition of from the estate of Mary Carpenter. We went out to bid with the assent in hand from Coastal Resource Management Council and the approval from state DOT for a $1.6 million grant. We solicited from 11 companies, received 13 submittals for the completion of the work. The price ranged from a low of $998,534 from HK&S Construction Holding Corp. in Newport to a high with Cardi Corp., which was at $1,972,000. The recommendation to the council this evening is to award to the lowest responsible bidder, which is HK&S Construction Holding Company, for the amount of contract of the $998,534 plus a $200,000 contingency. Therefore, we would ask council authorization to provide a resolution of a not-to-exceed amount of $1,198,534, which is inclusive of the base bid plus the $200,000 contingency, with the award to HK&S Corporation. As is our policy in review of bids, we reviewed the construction practices employed by this company to determine the types of similar work that they've accomplished. They have completed work in Massachusetts on the South Jetty repairs with the U.S. Army Corps for $4.6 million. They also were responsible for $1.5 million worth of repair work after Hurricane Sandy on Ocean Ave in Newport, and they've also done a $250,000 project for the Newport Beach Pump Station. Each of the representatives from each of those different projects have provided appropriate satisfaction in the exercise of the construction on each project. So with that, we would recommend council consider the award of that contract this evening.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions? Would you like to? Let me just get a motion on the table, and then I'll do a motion first. Can we have a motion, please, to accept new business?
I move
13B.
approval of new business item 13B.
Second.
Motion and a second. And if you could just state your name, please, again
Sure.
for the record.
Mark Getches.
Welcome.
Thank you. At the beginning of the evening, a couple other things were mentioned regarding this, and I just want to be clear in my mind how it's going to work. So the 202-foot sheet pile wall starts on the west side of Matunic, the Ocean Mist property. So I'm wondering if the property line is right at the building, or if there's a gap that would be open from the end of the wall to the building.
Yes, the northwest corner of the Ocean Mist is actually a property bound there. It is right at the corner of the building. Now, we will be offset from that building. We can't drive right up to it because the hydraulic hammer that we use to drive the sheeting can't get that tight. But yes, the northwest corner of the building comes right up to the property line.
Thank you. And my other question, if I understood correctly earlier, that there will be a provision in the project that the Ocean Mist has the option to extend this wall towards them further than the original 200 feet, or going east. Was I correct in that understanding?
What was said is that if the Ocean Mist goes forward and requests approval from Coastal to do any further extensions on that wall, whether they would be perpendicular to the wall the town installs, that they would be able to connect into the wall.
Okay, perpendicular meaning it would go out into the water?
That's correct. They could, I'm saying they could go in any direction. What we've indicated is that we would work with any abutting property owner if they were to obtain coastal approval for any type of erosion abatement that they saw appropriate for their property.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, on the east side of the 200-foot original section, the wall could go towards the water, then could it be extended along the water side of those properties down there?
That would be a question that would only be answered through the Coastal Resource Management Council. The problem that they're going to encounter is that anytime you get below the mean high water mark, then it's going to take Federal Corps of Engineers review of any of the applications. The question of whether or not they could get those approvals to be below mean water high mark is only for speculation at this point. We believe that it would be very difficult for them to get approval to deal with anything that was going to be seaward of the high water mark.
Okay, thank you. So my last envision here is, I understand that the building and the wall will be very close to each other, allowing the hydraulic to get as close as it can, but there will be a little, sounds like a little funnel there. And if so, that would direct a lot of water there. I'm just looking at erosion of that road, which I think is a concern of a lot of people.
Yes, I can answer that. There will be an annular space between the eastern armor stone where it terminates, gap probably, depending upon where we end up with the final sheet pile wall. And that annular space we have, as part of the contract and part of the ascent, will be, that interstitial space will be filled with the sand burritos. So there is no pocket, for lack of better terms, to allow scouring back towards the roads. Our consulting engineer has made provisions for that to prevent that from happening.
So there'll be a burrito up the side of the Ocean Mist?
We'll lay them perpendicular to the road between our armor stone and the mist. So we've got a provision in there, because again, we can't get right up against the, the mist property with the when we're driving the sheet pile or placing the armor stone. So we've made provisions to mitigate any scouring in that interstitial space between the mist property and the eastern termination of the armor stone.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. We have a motion and we have a second, and we talked about in the work session about delaying this, but we need to move forward with this so that the town can secure the steel sheet piling in, a fashionable, so we feel as though we've got to move forward with this tonight. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries 5-0-0. New business C is a resolution authorizing award of contract to Pioneer Consulting Group, Incorporated, P.O. Box 382, Woodbury, Connecticut, for consulting, engineering, and design services for a portable water and wastewater rate study in an amount not to exceed $22,000, including a $3,000 contingency, and as further described in a memorandum from the Public Services Director to the Town Manager dated September 3rd, 2013, entitled Water Rate Study Consulting Services.
As noted in John's memorandum, we're recommending the lowest qualified submitter for the water and wastewater rate study, that being Pioneer Consulting Group. Again, there's a small contingency that's being requested in the amount of $3,000 to be added to the $19,000 hard money cost. Recommend the council approve it. The retained earnings from both water and wastewater enterprise funds would be responsible for payment for these rate studies. These are necessary, as noted in the memorandum, for a couple of reasons, particularly the fact that we need to change the rate structure on the water system, and we're going to have to look at compliance with state laws that are requiring us to go to a quarterly billing system. So instead of one bill a year with two payments, we're looking at having to send bills 4 times a year based on consumption. The objective of the state statute is to increase the cost associated with high-volume water users so that it will provide economic incentive as a means of reducing consumption and saving a valuable resource. However, to do that with small water systems, and particularly those that are seasonal water systems with the highest uses during the summer months, makes this a very ambitious project to get right. With the outside assistance on this, hopefully we can provide an equitable system for our customers on that system.
Thank you, Steve.
I move approval of new business item C.
Second.
We have motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Last item on the agenda is new business D. This is a resolution authorizing an award of bid to All Phase Restoration Limited Liability Corporation, 1225 Douglas Pike, Smithfield, Rhode Island, for the town hall roof repair project in accordance with the bid specifications in an amount not to exceed $23,475, and is further described in a memorandum from the building official to the town manager dated September 5th, 2013, and entitled Town Hall Roof Repairs.
We received 2 bids on this project. Jeff has reviewed similar work that All Phase has constructed for the public entities. All 3 indicated they were willing to hire the company for additional work in the future. With that, they're lowest qualified bidders, and we would recommend council award on that basis.
I move approval of new business item D.
Second.
Motion and a second. Ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Anybody have anything for the good of the order?
Motion to adjourn. Oh.
Can I just, we have received our invitations to the Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns, September 21st. And I know I'm going to put mine in the mail. We have a response that's due, I believe, September 16th, and I don't know if we wanted to tag on to this, if people wanted to, if
What
people
day is
knew
that?
that they were going.
Saturday.
It's on a Thursday, 26th of September,
26th, though.
Crown Plaza Hotel.
Oh, 26th, okay.
So do you want to all do your own invitations, or do you want me to?
I'm not gonna be here.
Okay, all right.
I'll go, I know.
All right, I'm going to let everybody fill out their own. And I'll just make sure there's nothing else. Yeah, if I can just, I have some information to pass on to the press after we adjourn the meeting. All right, so now we're ready to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned at 9:48. Thank you.
Go, go, go.
I have some things for you guys too.
What, do I owe you money? What?
No, Marty Durkin wants to